Most brides scan the crowd looking for smiles. I was counting black fabric. My name is Alessia Marrow. I was 31 the day I got married. 120 guests sat under soft ivory drapes in a glass conservatory filled with white roses. And then the doors opened. My mother stepped in first. Black dress, long sleeves, pearl necklace, no color. My father followed in a black suit and black tie. Behind them, my sister, Camilla, black satin, red lipstick, smiling. Not wedding black, funeral black. Whispers started immediately. Did someone die? I knew who. Me. The version of me that stopped funding their chaos 6 months earlier. They didn't sit quietly. They waited. Waited through the ceremony. Waited through the vows. Waited until the reception began and champagne was poured. Then my mother stood. She didn't ask. She took the microphone from the coordinator mid-sentence. "I'm sorry," she said loudly, voice trembling with rehearsed emotion, "but this wedding cannot continue." You could feel oxygen leave the room. My husband, Elias, didn't move yet. He just watched. My mother turned toward me. "You will not marry until you transfer the Ridgewood property to your sister." Gasps. Cameras lifted. My father didn't speak. Camilla folded her arms and smiled like this was inevitable, like I would cave under public pressure. They thought humiliation was leverage. They thought the house was still mine. They were wrong about both. Elias finally stood. Not angry, not shocked, just calm. He walked past my mother, past the stage, toward the screen behind the band. He picked up a tablet, and that's when my sister stopped smiling, because whatever they thought they were about to force had already been handled. 6 months before the wedding, my mother invited me to tea. Tea in our family meant strategy. Camilla was already there when I arrived, flipping through a real estate brochure like she was browsing shoes. "Alessia," my mother began sweetly, "you've done so well with Ridgewood. It's time to think long-term." Ridgewood wasn't sentimental. It was calculated. I bought that duplex at 26, renovated it, and turned it into steady rental income. It paid for my wedding without a single loan. Camilla, meanwhile, had tried 3 startups and abandoned them all. "She needs stability," my father added from the armchair. Camilla sighed dramatically. "I just need a fresh start." And there it was. Not a request, an expectation. "You're not living there," my mother pressed. "It would mean more to her." I stirred my tea slowly. "Are you asking me to gift it?" I said. My mother didn't blink. "Family shares." Family shares, except when I was building it, except when I worked 80-hour weeks to secure it. I left that afternoon knowing something had shifted, not because they asked, but because of how confident they were, like they already had a plan. 2 weeks later, a family friend mentioned something casually at a dinner party. "Heard your parents are sorting property before your wedding. Smart move." Sorting property? No one had told me that. That was the first moment I realized they weren't hoping I'd transfer it. They were preparing to pressure me publicly, and I don't walk into traps unprepared. I didn't confront them. I didn't argue. I called my attorney. Elias thought I was overreacting at first. "Maybe they'll drop it," he said gently. "They won't," I replied. "They've already told people." That was the part that bothered me. Not the house. The narrative. They were laying groundwork. So I moved quietly. Ridgewood wasn't just in my name. It was held under Merrill Asset Group LLC, a structure I created years ago for tax protection. But ownership of the LLC was simple. Too simple. So I changed it. 30 days before my wedding, I restructured the company into an irrevocable holding trust. Primary beneficiary, a community housing foundation I support. Controlling trustee, not me, not Elias. An independent fiduciary firm, meaning the property could not be sold, transferred, gifted, or leveraged, not by me, not by anyone, without triggering penalties that would cost more than the house itself. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I saw the pressure building, and I refused to negotiate under humiliation. Elias read the final draft the night I signed. So even if they demand it, it won't matter. I said, and I meant that legally. What my parents didn't know was that by the time they chose their black outfits, the house they planned to extract was no longer mine to give. My mother was still holding the microphone. "This is about fairness," she declared to a room full of people who had paid for flights and gifts. "Camilla has struggled. Alessia has been blessed." Blessed. I built Ridgewood from a leaking duplex with cracked tile and unpaid tenants. But sure, blessed. Camilla stepped forward, eyes glossy but dry. "I never wanted to do this publicly," she said softly, "but you left us no choice." Gaslighting always sounds gentle. My father finally spoke. "You're embarrassing this family." At my wedding. Elias reached the stage. He didn't touch the mic. He didn't defend me. He simply connected the tablet to the projector. The screen flickered. Guests leaned forward. My mother turned slightly, irritated. "Elias, this is private family business." He looked at her calmly. "No, it became public when you picked up that microphone." The screen lit up. Not texts, not accusations. A single legal document. Title centered in bold, "Irrevocable Transfer of Controlling Interest, Marrow Asset Group, LLC." My sister's smile faded. My mother squinted. My father stepped closer. Elias zoomed in on one line. "Effective 30 days prior." The room went silent. I stood slowly from my seat. "You can't demand something," I said evenly, "that I no longer control." My mother's voice lost its certainty. "What does that mean?" It meant they had chosen spectacle, and spectacle had just backfired. The screen shifted to the next page. A seal, a signature, and the name of the beneficiary. Northbridge Women's Housing Trust, a nonprofit that funds transitional housing for single mothers rebuilding after domestic displacement. The murmurs changed tone. Longer serves private ownership. It serves stability for women who don't have parents demanding assets at their weddings. My mother shook her head like this was absurd. "You did this to spite your sister?" I finally stepped toward the stage. "No," I said clearly. "I did it because I saw you trying to corner me." My father's voice hardened. "You had no right." I met his eyes. I had every right. It was mine. The trustee firm's name appeared at the bottom of the screen. Independent, legally binding, executed. Even if I wanted to reverse it, I couldn't. Penalties, breach clauses, fiduciary restrictions, ironclad. Camilla looked at our parents. "You said she wouldn't risk it." There it was. Not a misunderstanding, a coordinated assumption. My mother's grip on the microphone tightened. "This is humiliating." "No," I said softly. "This is boundary enforcement." And for the first time that evening, they realized the trap they thought they set was already closed on them. Something subtle shifted in the conservatory. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was alignment. Guests who had been confused a minute ago were now watching my parents with a different lens. My mother sensed it. She lowered the microphone. "This is manipulation," she said sharply. "You've always been dramatic." Interesting, because 5 minutes ago, she was the one stopping a wedding. Camilla tried to recover. "You didn't even tell us," she said, voice trembling now, not performative, real. "That's correct," I replied. "You blindsided us." "No," Elias said calmly beside me. "You just didn't have access." The difference landed harder than anger would have. My father stepped forward like he still had authority. "You owe your sister." I didn't flinch. "I owe her honesty, not assets." The trustee document remained projected behind us, cold, factual, unarguable. Camilla looked around and saw what I saw. No sympathy, no applause for her, just quiet evaluation. And public evaluation is far heavier than confrontation. My mother made one last attempt. "You've just destroyed this family." I held her gaze. No, I protected myself from it. There was nothing left to argue, nothing to negotiate, because this wasn't about emotion anymore. It was structural, and structures don't bend for volume. My father reached for my mother's arm, not gently, urgently, and that's when the exit began. They didn't storm out. They retreated, and that difference mattered. My mother placed the microphone back onto the stand with stiff hands, like she could undo the last 5 minutes by being composed. She couldn't. Camilla's heels clicked too fast against marble as she walked toward the doors, not graceful, not victorious, just exposed. My father paused halfway down the aisle. For a second, I thought he might say something, an apology, a correction. Instead, he said quietly, "You didn't have to make this public." I almost laughed. "You did that," I replied. He didn't argue, he didn't deny it, because deep down he knew. They chose spectacle. I chose protection. The glass doors opened. Evening air slipped in. 3 black figures stepped into the night. And just like that, the funeral theme ended. The doors closed. Silence lingered for exactly 3 seconds. Then Elias turned to the band. "From the top," he said calmly. Music returned. Not awkward, not hesitant, joyful. Because here's the thing about truth. Once it's visible, it stabilizes the room. Kenna, my closest friend, raised her glass first. "To boundaries," she said, loudly. Laughter followed. Then applause. And for the first time that evening, I felt something settle inside me. Not relief, clarity. But the real aftermath didn't happen at the wedding. It happened 3 days later. I didn't hear from them the next morning, or the next. Silence can be strategic. On day 3, my phone rang. My father. I let it go to voicemail. His message was brief. "We need to talk about reversing this." Reversing it, like it was a dinner reservation, not a legally executed trust. An hour later, Camilla texted, "You went too far. People are talking." Of course they were talking. When you attempt asset coercion at a wedding, it travels. By afternoon, my mother called. Different tone. Less authority, more panic. "Do you understand what you've done?" she demanded. "You made us look unstable." I took the call on speaker while reviewing rental reports. "No," I said evenly, "you made yourselves visible." Silence. Then the pivot. "Your sister's financing just collapsed. The bank assumed family support." There it was, the real reason. Camilla hadn't just wanted the house. She had already positioned it as collateral, without ownership, without approval, assuming pressure would secure it. That wasn't desperation. That was premeditated entitlement. "I'm not responsible for her projections," I replied. "You could fix this," my mother pressed. "No," I said calmly, "I prevented it." And that's when I realized something important. They weren't angry about losing the house. They were angry about losing control. Control isn't loud when it leaves. It just stops answering. My father came to my office a week later. Not the house, my office. Neutral ground. He looked older than he had at the wedding, less certain. "We miscalculated," he said plainly. "No excuses, no performance, just that." I waited. "Camilla assumed you'd fold under pressure," he continued. "Your mother believed public leverage would work." "And you?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "I believed you wouldn't embarrass us." There it was. Image over integrity. Appearance over autonomy. I leaned back in my chair. "You tried to corner me on the one day you assumed I'd be emotionally vulnerable." He didn't deny it. "Why not ask privately?" I continued. "We thought you'd say no." "Correct." Silence again. But this silence wasn't hostile. It was recalibrating. "You've changed," he said finally. "No," I replied. "I've structured." That's the difference. I didn't become colder. I became clear. He nodded slowly, and for the first time in years, he looked at me not as a resource, but as an equal. When he left, he didn't ask for reversal. He didn't argue trust clauses. He simply said, "I underestimated you." Yes, you did. People assume this story is about a house. It isn't. Ridgewood still stands. Tenants still pay rent. The foundation still receives funding. The trust is functioning exactly as designed. What changed was power alignment. My sister moved cities 2 months later. Not dramatically, quietly, without another attempt. My mother stopped hosting extended family gatherings, not because she was ashamed, because the leverage had evaporated, and leverage was her language. My father calls occasionally now. Conversations are shorter, cleaner. He no longer advises me on what family expects. He asks what I'm building next. That's progress. Here's the truth most people won't say. Public humiliation only works if you panic. Coercion only works if you hesitate. They wore black to signal mourning. What they didn't understand was this: I wasn't dying. I was detaching. When Elias pressed that screen live, it wasn't revenge. It was confirmation that preparation beats reaction every time. If you're watching this and someone in your life uses love as leverage, structure your exits before you need them. Boundaries aren't emotional, they're architectural. And once they're built properly, no microphone can tear them down. If this resonated, share it. And tell me, would you have folded under public pressure?